City of Rochelle has used CRC as an after-hours call center for multiple years. We've navigated challenges with them over the past several years with little improvement. Several weeks ago, we were not notified of an outage for over 2 hours after the outage had already begun. Thankfully, due to other reporting systems, it was actually SCADA that night, the outage was addressed long before even being notified by CRC. We feel this behavior is unacceptable for our customers and employees both, and could potentially put us in jeopardy if the situation were to be an emergency and our crews aren't being notified. So due to the nature of this issue, we are asking to waive the competitive bidding to switch call services immediately. Daupler uses state-of-the-art AI calling and will also allow our customers to communicate via text message. This will allow the customers to send pictures of an issue, which could potentially lead to less truck rolls as well. Our customers can also select to talk to a person as well. This contract would be a 1-year contract, which would allow us to evaluate if Daupler is meeting our expectations. Daupler has given us a list of references that have all been more than satisfied with their solution. So Gracie and Tim are on. They did send us some presentations if you guys would like to go through those, or if you have further questions. I know it's a long meeting and there's a lot packed in here, so I don't know.
Bigger question is, do you feel like it'd meet your needs?
I do. So after having extensive conversations with these guys, and the communication that'll go back and forth between our crews and Daupler and the customers, I think it's a great option. So CRC doesn't offer the ability to for a customer to text, so they'll be able to text in for an outage now and send pictures. So there's a lot of times that we get calls for low lines or something hanging on a line, and if we could get a picture and we can clearly see that it's hanging on phone and cable, or it's a phone and cable line that's laying low, then we don't have to respond to that anymore.
And we get those all the time.
All the time.
We have a big problem with being called out for Frontier or Comcast low lines. And, right now, so you dispatch them and you got a minimum of 2 hours of overtime. And I'm not trying to take 2 hours of overtime away from any employee, but it's not a good use of our resources when we're called out for utilities that aren't even ours.
Right. So I think that that's great. The other thing too is they'll be able to tie into our SCADA system. So if SCADA, GIS, our outage management system, all of those things will be able to be tied in to Daupler. So if SCADA says that we have a breaker operation and there's a feeder that's locked out, they'll automatically be able to notify any of the customers that are on that feeder that we're aware of an outage and we're responding. So that way it'll help engage the customers earlier on in the outage process that we're already aware of the outage and we're responding to that outage. It'll also be able to dispatch the lineman right away at that point too, saying that CRC has none of these links currently. So just another added layer into faster response time.
It sounds like a lot of money to be on the consent calendar, and it's kind of confusing. I'd like to know more about where we're spending that $350,000. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Davis, you want to answer that, or Mr. Malone?
I can take a shot at that. I don't know if anybody is here from water. So Daupler is a firm that Water and Public Works has been using to take after-hour calls. If you recall, when I was actually in water, we had a few incidents, and it was learned that the calls were going to the treatment plant, and we determined that using the plant operators to triage emergency calls was not a good practice. So we engaged Daupler, this firm, so that people can call and actually get a person. The information is collected properly, is passed on to the appropriate individual. And one thing that was missing with the operators, we went back and tried to look at the data and make some determinations. Weren't able to do that. We're able to do that with Daupler. So it is to offer or provide an after-hour service for emergency calls that was lacking before we brought them on board.
I would just add that while that is a large dollar amount, it actually provides coverage that would be much more expensive if we had permanent staff on call 24/7, as Daupler provides for the city, both for public works and for water, for any call for service coming in.